Good job.
Scott, short
Moving to
version.
the Chief Financial Officer report.
please.
You had some questions that you'll have to get through your memo.
Okay. First thing that I submitted is the contract tool. Highlighted are some of the contracts that are either expired or expiring here, coming up by the end of the year. Our auditor's 3-year contract is up. They just finished tonight by coming here and giving a nice presentation. You'll see Classic Vending, Conica, and Pitney Bowes for our postage. These will be put out for RFPs and placed out to bid for those, following the trend of usual board policy on those. The next attachment that I had is your student activities account on there for the month of September. There will be some negative balances on there. There will be a transfer from our assistant principal accounts to give some credit balances on there, and then there's also going to be a distribution coming up next month that you will see at the next board meeting with transferring the registration fees. So there were some questions on why some of these accounts for fees are at 0. They have not been transferred yet. So that stuff is all signed, ready to go, and will be at the November board meeting. Let's see here. My third report is the September monthly financials report. That is 25% of our current year. It was a light month for revenue on it, as our main month is August and March with Cook County's distribution. I broke it into operating revenue versus total revenue on that. Leads me to the quarterly financial statements, just tracking revenue expenditures and comparing it from 15-16 to our current year and where we're at. There was a question in regards to why is the transportation budget so high. The board elected to, on the last levy, move $300,000 to the transportation levy fund.
The question was, why is the collection so low?
As far as the collection, that's what Cook County distributes out there.
Two of the tax collection funds are way below the collection. I asked the same question last year. Taxpayers don't get to say, oh, I want to pay the transportation fund, but not the education fund. So I don't think we've ever given an answer. Why are two of them way below the others?
Scott, the first collection levy, is that the old levy? And the second collection levy is the new levy where the transportation is going to?
Yeah, and they usually trend to give the bulk of your money to the ed fund, which leaves you to be the most flexible.
No, that's not what I asked.
But
The
But
first
you-
collection
Is
of the
from last
year,
year's.
is that the one we levied more in transportation?
yes, that
The first collection one?
The first collection would have been in prior years.
Right, and we
so
didn't
then
we didn't put
that one was lower. So then you put the 300 into it.
Right, and that's
so
coming
then
on the
that's
second
coming in
wave.
on the next tax collection, which will be in March.
March.
So in the March one, we
You
should see the
should
big
see
influx of the
it
revenue.
being reflected.
Thank
yes.
you.
If you look at
Well, what about the debt service?
that,
Is that-
that that's all based
It
on.
answers that one, but it doesn't answer the debt service.
Yes, that one's all based on when you submit your levy forms with the state. They tell you what your debt amounts are, and we will get our debt service payment on it. So I did speak to our auditor on that and just wanted to clarify that with one of the questions. We will be getting that money. As far as looking at what last year's budget to this year's budget and looking at the percentages, they're fairly close after the first quarter on that.
What are the questions that you had so we can keep moving? Let's get to
Okay.
a couple of questions.
There was a question about an American Express bill of $18,000. I pulled the bill And the majority of the bill, roughly 15,000 of it, was from our Director of Technology, Mike.
So Gary asked that last meeting.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the receipt and disbursement for the fiduciary accounts, and it says we paid, I don't know if I'm reading it right, we paid, there's $342,000 taken out of that account.
Yeah, that's kind
But
of.
we only, last week you reported the bill was 18,000. I'm trying to ask why there's such a big discrepancy there.
That's completely, it's completely different. So like the one
Do we have
bill
more
for
of the credit
18,
cards?
no, the one for 18,000, that is strictly the American Express cards that are Dr. Skinkis,
Right.
Mike Connors, or myself on it that are used.
What's the one?
This is more of the stuff that is processed coming in with credit cards. So it's like a clearinghouse.
I don't understand what you're saying.
So it's kind of like.
Other people have credit cards?
It comes in, the payment with credit cards into this account till it clears, and then it goes into
Oh,
our.
you mean when, like,
People pay.
pay their bills with credit
Yes,
cards?
Collect money.
Oh,
And then it's kind of like a collection there, and then once it clears, it gets distributed
All right.
into our
Okay,
all
next
right, I
question.
didn't know.
registration, and then,
Next
okay.
question.
All right, let's see, where am I at here? I want to answer, Mr. Gretchen's question from the last board meeting, what the $8,800 was on the American Express. That was to buy 80 new wireless ports to upgrade our old wireless ports in the building. That was a necessity per our Director of Technology, being that stuff gets obsolete and we have to continue to keep updating.
Keep going.
I don't know if that was, I think the context was, why does it have to go through an Amex?
Because he bought them on eBay.
eBay
Okay.
or Amazon with the current
Right.
sale.
Okay.
All right.
All right, there were some questions on the board revenue expense. On board book, page 42, there is some CTE accounts that show a zero balance but have expenditures close to 25,000.
What's
The-
CTE stand for?
Career and Technical
that's our-
Education, it's the Perkins Grant.
We're talking to a board in the public who don't know what CTE is.
I'm sorry, Career and Technical Education
Okay.
courses.
All right.
These are grant accounts ran through the Carl Perkins Grant or the state CTEI grant, and they have a different threshold as far as limits for capital versus non-cap. In the grants, $500 is the threshold.
Okay.
That falls under capital, and our district has locally a $1,000 cap.
Also, we haven't received our federal grant, the CT&E money yet.
It'll be on a reimbursement basis.
Correct. So some of that may look like we're really over budget for the next couple of months till we receive the money from the
For
state.
the sake of expediency, why don't you save the question on the summer school stuff till next meeting, or have Dr. Skinkis send it out on Friday or something
that.
like that?
Okay. There was a question on the operations and maintenance capital budget, Board Book 58. The budget was 67,000. It currently is at 48,000. The big piece in that one is the PA system that we have with Renaissance. They only received half the payment on it, as there still is some kinks in the system that really need to be worked out. And we are holding that until they are working with us to get everything nullified.
Well, the question was, we're 18%, we're 20% over the budget.
Yeah,
So-
that's not true.
Oh.
So I don't know why the report is reflecting that, but per the
Well, there was
budget,
30 to date, and there's 48 on encumbrances, that's 78,000, and the
Still
budget was
leaving 12.
67.
yeah, but 48 would be totaled, with leaving 12. Is what I
Why don't you
have.
look into that a little?
I will. The last questions were on Board Book, page 66, on legal fees and building payouts. These are costs that were related to the Phase 3 legal issues with the parking lot and the tennis courts. And the building payment was pay application number 13 related to Phase 2, still giving out payments on partial payments for the bleacher demo, the partial electricity and the.
You got, when you're explaining this stuff, you gotta keep it simpler for them. So, we got bills from the
Bills came in.
15-16 project in this fiscal year,
And they're hitting.
and we didn't, and so we still, so technically, we budgeted for the gym project and the roof project, and we're still paying some bills from the rear. So that's why there was no budget for the 2015-16. The money's in the capital account, but it's a zero budget line item, correct?
Yes.
And the same will go for the legal fees that was there was a question
That were
submitted.
incurred for the village.
Correct.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Mr. Walsh, on that question?
I understand it. I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know why, if we knew we owed money when we made the budget, why didn't we budget for it again?
Right. So I don't, that's what, when Tim was developing a budget, and there's some things that me and Scott are looking at where that project was over, so the new line items in the budget were all for this summer's work, and really, there were still some bills that were gonna come in after June 30th that we should have had it, but
Okay.
line item open.
Okay, does that conclude?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, and we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, visitors' comments and surveying the audience tonight. I see no one with their hand raised to have a visitor comment. So at this point in the agenda, we'll have any discussion or information items that any member of the Board of Education would like to add for the end of the meeting. Looking to my left, looking to my right, seeing none.